Welcome to CMO School. Today I'm going to talk about why you need to niche as a fractional CMO, even if you don't want one. So, when I first started as a fractional CMO, I did not want to niche. I was scared it would limit my opportunities. I wasn't actually really sure what I would choose as my niche. And I also had a fear about getting, boxed into one area. But the truth is that when I did niche, it was such a catalyst to my growth and an unlock for freedom. So, in this episode, I'm going to walk you through what happened when I tried to serve everyone and kind of my journey to finding my niche, how I tested different niches, and my kind of secret behind the scenes way of doing this, and then why I eventually chose a niche and really how that was an unlock for me. So, if you're still figuring out your niche, or you're kind of feeling resistant to the idea, this episode will help you figure out why narrowing your focus, why niching might be the best move that you can make. So let's get into it. All right. So when I started, I did not want to niche. And as a marketer, I think you can probably relate. It was this kind of voice in the back of my head saying, okay, Jess, you should probably niche down. Like that's the marketing way to do it. You can't be all things to everybody. But I really had this fear about, if I niche, my background was so broad. I'd started out in the tech startup space. I had worked in tourism and hospitality. I'd worked on the agency side, so such an array of brands. I had been in e-commerce. I had been working for a charity kind of in the education space. And I just had kind of all over the place as far as experience. And I felt like, A, what am I really, set up to specialize in? And B, do I actually want to? And what if I get something comes my way outside of that niche and that means I have to say no to it? So I had this fear, I had this scarcity mindset that if I chose one niche, one thing, one space, there maybe wouldn't be enough work to go around. And what if I suddenly got bored? It felt I needed to make this one final decision and that would be it forever. So I'm going to talk about what I did at first. At first, I decided my niche it was very broad. It was D2C, so direct to consumer brands that were high growth. And you're probably thinking, well, that's everybody. That's so many brands. I ended up kind of qualifying that with the word lifestyle and saying, okay, I work with, health and wellness and anyone in sort of the e-commerce or style space. And I kind of had this big umbrella of companies I would work with. And when I started out, that basically meant that I had lots of different clients come my way. It felt I was really in this constant phase of trying to wrap my head around an industry and their business, which, in some way you are always doing that as a fractional CMO, but it was such a next level because I would have, let's say, like a tech startup client with an app. And then I, on the other side, would have an e-commerce brand with, some brick and mortar locations and online. And then I would have a, education based business. Like I was all over the map. So what happened was I started to it felt overwhelming from the place of how do I get more clients? Like I was in my early phases of trying to grow and trying to bring in more revenue. And I remember just thinking, I don't even know where to begin with this. And talking with my coach at the time, and she had such an unlock for me, which I'm going to share with you. It's kind of a secret way to test niches. So because in that moment in time, I just was not into niching down publicly. I was too scared to do that. She said to me, Jess, you know what? You can niche and niche in your head. You're sitting here trying to figure out how to find clients and how to grow your authority in the space and smooth out your business. What if you just decided to focus on membership-based businesses? And the reason we had been talking about that is that was a lot of my clients. So clients with memberships or recurring revenue. And so I remember talking with her about that and thinking like, okay, that allows me to niche down or test niching. And it's not like I have to commit forever, but I can test it for 3 to 6 months and see how that feels. Number one, do I like specializing in this niche? Does it feel good? Does it feel good to create some rhythms and systems around what it's like working with these types of clients? And then number two, it also instantly gave me so many more ideas. So when I had this very broad niche and I was kind of all things to everybody, when I would ask myself the question, where am I going to find new clients? It was overwhelming. And I would sit there and say, I don't know actually, because my niche was so broad. But when I thought about membership-based clients, suddenly that shifted things for me. So I had ideas like, number one, lots of my clients with membership-based businesses are on Kajabi. What if I look through Kajabi's website and I look at all of their client testimonials and their case studies, and I look at some of the virtual events that they do and the speakers they have there. And suddenly it was like pulling this little thread where I had unlocked this vault of ideas, because once I got more specific with who I wanted to serve, it suddenly allowed me to kind of tap into these specialized either networks or providers or events or people who specialized in that space. Another one was Stu McLaren. So he has a group program around starting your own membership. And I knew there'd be a lot of people in that were too early for me, but I also knew there's probably a lot of people that are later on in their journey with their company, maybe sitting at $1 million in revenue plus, that would be perfect for me. So again, I could kind of tap into the containers that he had built out and find clients there. It just unlocked all these ideas for me, because I suddenly went from anyone could be my client to, no, I'm looking for this specific person. And then I will say too, when I would talk to people and explain what I'm doing and who I'm doing it for, it was so much easier for them to say, oh, okay, what about this? Or have you talked to this person? Or I should connect you to so-and-so. And when people were able to better place who I supported and what I helped them with, it was so much easier for them to make introductions and referrals for me. So that was my kind of behind the scenes way of testing memberships. And I would say, I'd love to see you do that. If you're in a place where you're like, oh, I don't know if I want a niche, I'm kind of scared, or I don't know if I feel fully committed to this one place, give yourself a small time frame, like 2 months, 3 months, and focus in on the one niche that you're kind of leaning towards. And even sit down and ask yourself, okay, if I really focus, how would I reach these specific people? Because that will probably open so many more doors and ideas for you than when you're sitting there thinking, I'm a generalist and how do I get clients? That is just massive. So next, after that, after my little test, I decided, okay, I like memberships, but I just don't know if I want to stay in that space. And so I say this to tell you it is okay to change your niche. As somebody who is a prior perfectionist and would agonize over decisions because I wanted to get them quote unquote right, it is okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your mind and change your niche. The benefit of niching down, though, gives you discipline and focus over a period of time to find clients more easily, and then also create rhythms and systems in your business. So that was such an unlock for me. When I decided to niche down, and the niche that I finally landed on was the creator space. So working with businesses who have an online digital presence where they are selling memberships, courses, high ticket programs. And essentially what I was focusing in on was those personal brands or creators that were selling through a mechanism that I really understood. So live launching and funnels and evergreen models and all of those types of things. So that was where my niche ended up landing. And what that allowed me to do was a few things that I think were so key to my growth in this space. So number one was I was able to create processes and rhythms behind the scene. So what I mean by that is if I'm working with a whole bunch of clients who live launch, it is way easier for me to say, okay, let's template this. When we are live launching, here's all the things we do. Here's all the things we don't do. Here's a standard timeline. Here's a bunch of templates and processes we follow and best practices. And so I was able to templatize a lot of the strategies I was putting together. Granted, they're still very custom, but it's just the rhythm around it, right? The timing and the lessons learned and things like that. And comparing that to when I was working with so many different clients where, I have someone over here with an app who's trying to get new users. I have someone over here with like an e-commerce business who's trying to do their holiday Christmas shopping campaign. I've got, someone over here trying to sell her course. Like my mind was all over the place as far as ideas. There was no ability to templatize or to streamline anything, even client communications. So I found, processes and rhythms, just being able to build those out around my niche was such an unlock when it came to my time and really being able to deliver high quality work and show up as a really excellent CMO in less time than I was taking before when I was scattered across a variety of client types. Then number two, it made me a way better CMO. So because I was immersed in this one space, now I'm able to learn and I know and understand the best practices and I can follow the industry and sort of the marketing best practices a lot easier than if I'm trying to learn, or figure out how to, grow a user base on an app and how to drive holiday gifting sales. And it's just strategically so much to juggle and try to hold. And so I became so much better when I was, my focus became singular and I just became an expert in the space that I had kind of stuck my flag into. And then lastly, the other thing that was such a benefit for me in terms of choosing this niche was being known. So being the CMO in the space for creators or creator-led brands with digital products. And so, when you look at lots of other CMOs who are broad and say, oh, we just help whoever, online businesses, I really have been able to carve out a unique space for myself and my team and saying, like, this is where we specialize. This is what we know best in the world, and we know this inside and out, and we have done this over and over and over successfully for our clients. So that just ended up becoming such a competitive differentiator for me that I wouldn't have had otherwise. And I will say that often was coming up in sales conversations. I remember very early on talking with a client and I was excited about their business. It was this tech startup and they ended up really liking me, but saying, look, we're going to go with this guy over here because he eats, sleeps, and breathes tech startup. This is his jam. This is what he does. And so there was time and time again, that kind of thing would happen where someone would say, look, we love you, but this person, this is all they do. This is their space. So it also really helped in people referring clients to me and then also closing and just saying, like, this is the space that we specialize in. So when I think about niching, I was so hesitant. There's honestly still part of me. I think it's that creative, entrepreneurial, visionary part of me that's no niching. But, it has honestly been such an unlock for my growth and my time. So if you're feeling resistant or you're not sure, my encouragement to you is to just try it out. Give yourself a short period of time, choose a niche, test it out, see how it goes. You can always change your mind. So if you're building a fractional CMO business and you don't want to waste years figuring it out the hard way, Fractional CMO School is open for enrollment and we'll give you the step-by-step roadmap that I used to build my business to 6 figures in 6 months and then $1 million per year with a small team of 2. There's expert coaching, one-on-one support, and whether you are an aspiring fractional CMO or you're growing, you're trying to figure out how to scale your team or do the role in a way that doesn't lead to burnout, it is a great fit for you. And you can learn more at thecmooffice.com. If you love this episode today, here is what I would love from you. Take 30 seconds to rate and review the show. It helps more marketers and CMOs find this content. Hit follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're going to implement any of this or you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out in my DMs on Instagram. I would love to support you. And thank you for listening. I will see you next week.